go back and redo those whenever, as many times as you need or want to. Okay, let us go over these questions. So for number 1, we needed to solve the equation for x. We're trying to get this x by itself. We need to get everything else away from it. How would we start that process? Okay. You could subtract dy on both sides. It cancels right here, and then you're left with ax equals. These are not like terms. You cannot combine them, but I can rewrite it. So it just says c minus dy. Then I'm still trying to get x by itself. So how would I get rid of a dash? Divide everything by a. So these a's cancel, become 1. Or they don't really cancel. They divide, become 1. And I'm left with c minus dy all over a. I could put that back in to make sure that it works. That would be something like a times c minus dy over a plus dy equals c. These a's would become 1. These would become 0. And c equals c is a true statement. I don't know what c is, but I see it on both sides, so whatever c is, it would be the same on both sides. Do we have any questions on that one? Did you? For number 2, there's really 2 ways you can kind of look at this. It's really your preference, which one you prefer. If we're trying to get b by itself, we need to get rid of y and the negative in front. How would we start that? Plus b. You could do it that way. This may not have been the way you thought about it, but this way does work. If we add b to both sides, that gets rid of this b on this side and moves my b to the other. That equation should look somewhat familiar because it's the equation of a line. Bye. But because we move b over, it's not by itself, and now we need to get rid of mx. So we would subtract mx to the other side. These would cancel, and I have y minus mx on one side and b by itself. But maybe let's say you weren't thinking about it like that. Maybe you were thinking, I'm going to get rid of the y first. So you have negative b equals mx minus y. B is almost by itself. But how would I get it completely by itself? By what? -1. Divide everything by -1. And when we do that, we can really simplify. There's really a 1 in front of this. So -1b divided by -1 would just be a positive b. Positive mx divided by -1 would be a negative mx. Negative 1y divided by negative 1 would be a positive y. These two are the same, they're just switched. So both of those methods would work.
On the negative b, sometimes this is, you just see a negative, nothing in front of it. A little bit confusing, but if you see a negative 2 in front of the b, do you have a problem with that? Negative 2 divided by negative 2 or whatever. If some number in front of b doesn't look as scary, I don't think it's just a flat out negative b, but again, like Ms. Torres said, it's just put a 1 in front of it and that takes the scary part out, I think. So just because it's just 1b. So you have no trouble if it's negative 2b, just say divide by negative 2. This would be whatever, negative 5 divided by negative 5b would be divided by negative 5, you're left with b. But when you see just a negative b, a little bit scary, you just put a 1 in front of it.
Pretend
And then you're done. Then you know that that's an easy one.
Pretend it's invisible, it's hiding from you, and you have to like fill it in. That way you know it's there. Okay, questions on number 2 before we go over number 3? We need to get v by itself. Right now, v is in the denominator. The only way to get it out of the denominator is to multiply it to both sides. Because these v's would become 1. V divided by v is 1. So we multiply v to the other side, but v still isn't by itself. How would we get it by itself? I just realized I stopped putting in the check. I'll do that. Questions on that one, Josh?
So the way I do it is I multiply n and I get n together.
Okay, hold on 1 second. You multiply n on both sides. So when you do that, this becomes n squared. It makes it more complex than you really want it if you multiply by n. Now, you could divide by n. When I divide by n, those n's would go away. But I still have, not this n, just that one. But I would still have this v in my denominator. So you would still have to multiply to get the v out, no matter what you did to n or v. Did you need to see that, Josh? Sorry, I erased it.
No, I'm looking at the one on the side.
Okay.
I'm looking at the down side.
The last one, there were many problems on the Delta Math that were similar to this, either look like this or basically when we go to solve this, it'll look like how we're going to solve it. Where you had like parentheses. So this is a word problem and that like freaks us out because we're like, okay, what's important? I don't know. There's too many things going on. Really, here is talking about a formula. We know we're going to have to solve for something. All of this information in here just tells us what is what. All I need to know is what am I solving for? The rest of this is fluff. Now, when we actually get into word problems, there will be important information, but for this one, it is not the case. So we have our formula, we have what we're solving for, C. I'm going to rewrite it. And I see that we have C in both of our terms. We somehow have to get it out of both terms so that it's by itself. So when we have problems like this, we have to think about, like, if we had a problem like this. If I had a problem like this, what would I do to simplify it? Distribute. The 4 to the 2, the 4 to the 1, so this would become 8x plus 4. There is a piece of 4 in both of those terms, but we multiplied them in to get it. We want this c to be on the outside, so we're kind of going to do this in reverse. It's called factoring. We'll get more to that later. But when we do that, we're technically dividing both of these terms by that number to put it back on the outside to see what is left. So if I need c, and c is in both of these, I'm going to divide both of these terms by this c and see what is left on the inside. C divided by c would give me 1. CR divided by c would give me this r. Now I have that c on the outside that is almost by itself. To get it completely by itself, I would just need to get rid of this 1 plus r. How would I do that? Josh?
Divide 1 plus r.
So then this entire term would cancel, become 1. And I would have this c by itself on that side. This is supposed to be an r, it looks like a 1. There we go. Do we have any questions on that? If you didn't try the delta math, because maybe that looked confusing, maybe go back and try it now and see if you can figure those out. Not at this very moment, but later. And then look towards the back really fast.
Just again, when you see letters, that's again scary sometimes. So just put a number in. That's what I do just to prove it. So you got the 2 instead of the c plus cr. I've written 2. I put a 2 in for the c. So that for me is easier. So how do I get these 2 out? I pull the 2 out. And I'm thinking, well, 2 times what equals 2? That's easy, right? And then 2 times what equals 2r. So I've already got the 2 there. So I've got the same thing, 1r, but I don't need the 1. So again, I just put numbers. Sometimes I I don't know what to do. Too scary, just the variables. So just put a number in and then take a look at it. It was 5. 5 plus 5r. There's a 5. I pull a 5 out. What times 5 equals 5? Excuse me. What times 5 equals 5? That's going to be 1. What times 5 equals 5r? It's just going to be 1 little r. Just the way that I need sometimes to prove it to myself or to give it a different look to it, because letters aren't as friendly to me as numbers. Get stuck, maybe that'll work for you too. You don't need it, don't use it. My feelings won't be hurt.
Okay. Did we have any other questions on any of these 4? So today, actually I'm gonna jump forward. I'm gonna explain what we're doing on Friday and then jump back to what we're doing today. So Friday, you guys are going to be taking the quiz on solving multi-step equations and solving literal equations. I'll probably give you like the first 30-ish minutes to ask any questions you have on Delta Math Academy, questions on the review or study guide that's on your desk, and then you'll have the rest of class to take the quiz. And then I'll explain exactly how the quiz works Friday. but today is just going to be a review day. So you have a study guide on your desk. Go through as many problems of those as you feel like you need. I would say try at least all of them. Or if you don't try those, go back to your own notes and try the practice problems in those. If you've not done the Khan Academy, you can also be working on those. If you wanted to try the Delta Math, you can also be working on those. So we should be using this time to do some sort of practice. I'm kind of saying I don't really care how you do that practice as long as you're working on something. Okay, questions about that? We will be walking around. If you need our help or have questions or just want to check something, let us know.